Dr. Chaitanya Prakash Yogi, Director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, Ms. Nosizwe MG, Ms. Paula Martini, Mr. Kamal Maharaj, Mr. CPM Chunu, Mr. Piyush Khandelwal, distinguished guests and online viewers, Namaskar and welcome to the first episode of Yoga Charcha, a discussion on yoga, a series of interactions with experts on yoga. Um, I would like to welcome Mr. Kamal Maharaj for his introductory remarks today. This program is in association with Vishwa Shakti Academy of South Africa.
Namaste, Vanakam, Namaskaram, Sawubona, greetings to all. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Yoga Charcha series hosted by the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India, Durban, in conjunction with Vishwa Shakti. The various techniques of yoga help the yogi to calm the mind. It increases focus and concentration power. It builds the energy to work and stay active the whole day. In fact, it allows you to become enthusiastic about life. Dating back more than 10,000 years, yoga is considered by many to be the oldest defined practice of self-development. The methods of classical yoga include ethical disciplines, physical postures, breathing control, and meditation. Yoga is a discipline to improve or develop one's inherent power in a balanced manner. It offers the means to attain complete self-realization. The literal meaning of the Sanskrit word yoga is yoga. According to Maharishi Patanjali, yoga is the suppression of modifications of the mind. The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, meaning to join or to yoke or to unite. As per yogic scriptures, the practice of yoga leads to the union of individual consciousness with that of the universal consciousness. The fundamental purpose of yoga is to foster harmony in the body, mind, and one's environment. Yoga is a complete system of physical, mental, social, and spiritual development. For generations, this philosophy was passed from guru to student. Yoga has many benefits. It improves posture, increases flexibility, builds muscle strength, boosts metabolism, helps in lowering blood sugar, increases blood flow, keeps diseases at bay, and improves one's self-esteem. Yoga does not transform the way we see things, but rather it transforms the person who is seen. You cannot always control that which is the external, but of course we can control what is going on inside. Remember, yoga is not a religion. In fact, yoga is a science of well-being, a science of youthfulness, a science of integrating mind, body, and soul. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the presenters and participants of this Yoga Charcha series. Thank you for sharing your experiences and ideas and helping the practitioners of yoga to become better in their quest to attain the highest. Let me also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Chaitanya Yogi, the director of the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, who initiated this Yogcharcha series. Thank you. I wish all of you everything of the best, and may this become a successful opportunity for those who wish to travel the path of yoga.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamal Maharaj, for those introductory remarks. Today in our midst, we have two very dynamic yoga experts, and that is Miss Paula Martini and Miss Nosizwe MG. And they will be interacting with us and giving us a deeper insight to what yoga is and what yoga has portrayed in their lives. Just a brief background about Miss Paula Martini. Miss Paula Martini has been working in the travel industry for over 20 years and a strong focus on corporate travel management with skilled customer service, strategic planning, and business development in her cap, with a focus on airlines, aviation, and travel industry as a whole. She has been a proud owner of her independent travel agency since 2009. A newly found passion for health and wellness began when she moved to the north coast of Durban in 2017. Paula G participated in yoga, fitness training, and improving her overall well-being. The idea to combine travel and yoga and an interactive lifestyle came while she was on her yoga mat one day. We Move Active was born. Today, Paula G will be interacting with a very dynamic Miss Nosizwe G. And Nosizwe G is a yoga teacher, a life coach, speaker, and believer in people's ability to heal their bodies, minds, and communities. Nosizwe G's interests in philosophy dates back to the university where she studied politics, philosophy, and economics at UTC. She has both experience and knowledge of yogic philosophy and is committed to making the spiritual side of yoga accessible, achievable, and practical. She came to yoga as a tool to help her body recover from a near fatal accident, but found her entire practice and life changed once she learned to breathe and sit still. The spirituality of yoga is powerful and has the ability to transform our thinking and the way we achieve life. Today, we welcome the very dynamic and beautiful Miss Nosizwe MG with Miss Paula Martini for their Yoga Charcha. Namaste and welcome.
Namaste. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here today and to be able to be chatting with you, Sizwe. We have met before and have discussed yoga a number of times, but to have this conversation with you today is going to be really great. So if I can start with the first question, and that would be, how do you understand or define yoga?
Saying hi, everybody, and thanks so much for having me. And yes, exciting to have this kind of conversation officially with you, like on an online platform. So my understanding of yoga is a life science. Really, it's just a way in which to understand or view yourself. I think holistically. So for me, it's, through the body, the mind, and the soul and the spirit, and that's really been my understanding. So like a holistic life practice.
Wonderful. So like a whole overview. It's not just a matter of being on the mat, but actually a life practice where it goes from the mat to beyond all other areas, which is
yeah.
Wonderful.
Definitely, Paula. I think the mat is just, the place where we get to practice some of the concepts and the ideas that we learn in yoga, but it's definitely something that lives further than just our yoga mat.
Yes, exactly, beyond the mat. And your introduction gave a little bit about how you began yoga and your accident, but why don't you tell us a little bit about that connection and how you got connected with yoga?
So at the time I was a GCT, I was actually in my final year. I was 23, so quite young if you think about it. And so still, grappling with a lot of your issues, especially at that age, not really feeling good enough, like self-worthiness issues. I think a lot of, the girl stuff, weight stuff. And anyway, that was just like the kind of state that I was in. And then I had this car accident, and my sister at the time, she was at the Joburg bar and an advocate. My older sister Nomzamo, who is now actually we work together, but she was practicing yoga, and she was, found quite a lot of release, like stress release from it. And so she was just like, hey, C's, I think this is something you could get into, and I feel that it will help you, get back. I was quite badly injured, it was a near fatal car accident. And so I came to the practice honestly for my body, just to, get some strength back, get some movement back. But just the philosophy, the learnings, the teachings, the breathing, the actual being still, I just found a place to confront some things that I didn't even realize that I had been carrying with me. And it was just such an avenue that healed me from obviously my current state. It helped my body a lot, but it just healed so much more than what I bargained for.
Wonderful. So inspiring, actually. I think, when we start getting more and more into these conversations, we're going to see how many people through the connection of yoga have been able to have life-changing experiences. Do you feel any difference in your own life due to your practice of yoga? How is it? How is your journey? How has things played out purely because of yoga?
I think, well, for me, what I know is that it has made me, has brought me into like a friendship, I'd say, with myself. So just a really deep, true knowing and understanding that comes from stillness, that comes from, and like true self-inquiry, through the challenges in class, you learn yourself. How do I come up against challenge? Do I just kind of give up? How what are the emotions? Yeah. So as I say, there's just so many parts of myself that I've learned and come to understand as well, heal. And through that, I think when you truly know yourself, that's where resilience is born. That's when you're able to, go through life's challenges, because I know my strengths, I know my weaknesses, I'm aware of my triggers. I'm in a constant kind of state of self-learning, self-improvement. And so, yeah, it's changed me. I think it's just made me so much more resilient. It's made me, stronger, more courageous, more at peace with myself, who I am.
That's amazing. And I'm hearing a lot of self, and I think that is one of the true benefits of yoga and doing it as a practice is, even though you can be in a class environment, the actual practice itself always brings you back to self, because it is an environment and you are connecting with others and you're sharing energy and that kind of thing. But it's at the end of the day, it is a self practice for the benefit of self, which is
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then, but then there's the interconnectedness as you're talking about, and when I improve, when I grow, everybody else grows and improves with me, because of the interconnectedness. When I grow, if I'm not confronting or allowing myself to grow, the people in my life are suffering, the people I work with are suffering. Vice versa, if I'm actually growing and expanding and becoming, everybody else, comes and grows along with you. And so there is that in, out, in aspect of
Exactly.
yoga.
Exactly. So self-development always to the benefit of self and to others, which is makes yoga so unique and so beneficial, because it's not beneficial to self, but also to those around you. And tell me, do you have any specific style of yoga or school? Any preference? I know of one that I absolutely love, and yeah, we'll possibly get to chat to them too. But yeah, what are your views there?
So, my particular style that I love is, I love teaching vinyasa, which is kind of the more cardiovascular, quite challenging practice. I love the seamless transition from pose to pose. And so that's, vinyasa, and I'm qualified and trained in that. As well as yin, which is like on the other side of the spectrum, which is a lot, more gentle, more, what would I say, kind of meditative practice in which you have these long holds and you're staying in positions for longer and not as much movement. And so, between that and then I'm discovering and the power of Yoga Nidra, and I'm starting to teach that a lot more. So
That's
so I've got various styles. I can also teach hatha, but it's not necessarily my favorite. But I will say, hatha always for beginners, and in that sense, I'm always up to helping people start to spark a journey. And so, but yeah, so from hatha, vinyasa, yin, and yoga nidra, those are about the styles of practices that I'm currently teaching.
wonderful. And I like the idea that you say for beginners, it's always good to start with hatha, because I think a lot of people embarking on or starting on yoga tend to go full out from the very beginning. And you land up, people don't realize injuries, those kinds of things. Whereas if you have a start slow and you start your grounding well, it's like building a house where your foundations are built solid, then the rest of your house lands up being really, really strong. So I love that, mention that you said there.
And also, Paula, I think, the slower is really the power or the difference of yoga to the other exercises of kind of throwing ourselves into and like powering through and working through. And so it is a lot more challenging. I think people always want to in our minds and how the world was. It's like, I want to do the hardest thing. I want to feel it, make sure that it works. And so, sometimes people will think, oh, that's so easy. But actually, slow and quiet and soft and subtle in our society is a lot more challenging than one will think. And if you can crack or you can get that ability to slow things down and quiet things down, then you're really getting to the beauty, I say, the real true nugget of yoga, because it's in the silence. It's in the silence. It's in the kind of release of effort, right? Not trying so hard, that we really start to experience the magic of this practice.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at the fastness versus the slow, whereas, as you say, connected and holding it for so much longer is where the actual connection with self comes in. And the fast pace of more of a workout is going through the working up a sweat so I can have the muscles and have the nice poses kind of thing. But the actual slow practice is where the actual technique and self comes in, which is really, really nice to have that balance. And I think that your work now with Yoga Nidra, I had the privilege of practicing it for the first time last year, and it's very, very unique, and I think something that is isn't offered a lot in our area, especially. But yeah, the deep connectedness that comes with that practice particularly, I think is amazing. That's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Well, yeah, for people who don't know, what we're talking about, yoga nidra is really the quintessential art of letting go. It's lying on the floor and allowing yourself to really just relax, succumb, and so yeah, again, sounds like but not, but this is for me, it's that thing of as I'm teaching it more, realizing as a society that how to relax without passing out, right? Without going completely to sleep. And that's a skill in that itself. We that's how we do. We work, day, night comes. If you're lucky to, be able to unwind and sleep, you pass out, you wake up. But that ability to actually be present to relaxation is quite a skill, and to completely consciously let go and soften is a skill that that you can, again, and that's what I love about yoga, that are these skills that if you can develop it on the mat, how you do one thing is how you do everything. A teacher once told me, and that's how it starts to move into your life.
Absolutely. That is a really, really good tip there, I must say. Yes, fantastic. And do you feel that yoga is an art and a science which gives you a sense of affinity and connectedness with the entire universe? And especially now that we've been talking about yoga nidra, and I think that's the balance where so many people say I fell asleep during savasana, and you just want to let go and have your quick power nap versus actually staying connected and using those times, whether it be a practice of nidra, yin, or even during your savasana, that connectivity where those are actually looks like you taking a 5-minute break, but that is where some of the biggest connectivity time can come in and benefit you. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I do think the whole practice is really about connection. It's that, connection with, it starts with, okay, cool, we'll come into class. So there's this collective energy that we're able to tap into, which is what's, so great about group classes. And a lot of the feedback I've gotten from students, as we're now moving to doing it online is, I miss that sense of connection that you get from being in a space with other beings with the same intention. There's something really powerful about people coming together with intention. So there's that, happening. Then there is this, kind of on a more subtle level, as you tune into your bodily sensations, as you tune into your breath, this, deep connection with self, a way to ground you. The mind wants to travel. It goes into the future. It goes back into the past. But the body can only really be in one place at one time. And so you're able to be grounded and connected to the present. And then in that, it's like, oh, the birds are singing. Oh, okay, cool. This is what's happening. And you start to connect yourself to the environment. There's the connection, as I said, the breath. The breath is the ultimate connector with the trees and the, the nature and outside coming actually into my body, the transformation that happens in my body that then sends out, the CO2 back to the trees. So there is this connection of self with nature, outside, inside again. So, absolutely, it is both a science, this is that we're talking about is scientifically proven. This is how we breathe. This is what breath is, scientifically proven through postures, this is how it works. And all the connective tissues that are alive, that's all part of the science of it. And then the art, I would just say, it's that you almost can't really put a thing to. It's like that magic that happens in all of this coming together, in almost me slowing down or becoming present. Also, I see the art of my life, this beautiful picture of how it's all coming together. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that statement that it is both art and science.
Wonderful, because I think the science is always the explained, but the art is always the unexplained. And I think it gives the ability to bring you to now, because I think you also realize that the brain is an organ just like the rest of your body. And when you're able to feed the brain, feed the soul, feed the lungs, feed the body, it all works. And that connectedness definitely does play a huge part, which is interesting, yes. Do you feel that yoga represents universal energy or universal love and compassion?
I think it has the potential to, absolutely. Look at how it's just taken, across the world. I think that we're just seeing it now that, all types of people are drawn to this practice, find something in it, it's spreading like wildfire. It's everywhere. And definitely, I think if you're truly practicing yoga, if you are allowing yourself to build self-awareness, if you are using this as a tool, for self-inquiry, yeah, just notice your thoughts, yeah, all of it, all of that plays into how, okay, I'm kind of talking in circles. You're saying compassion. So the compassion and the love that you're able to build for yourself through this practice can only, that is the only way that we're going to be able to actually change the world. It's actually through ourselves. You cannot show true love and compassion for someone else if you do not have that for yourself. And so through the practice on a universal scale, and that's why it has the potential, if we all pick up these kind of practices that bring us home to ourselves, that build love, kindness, compassion, self-awareness for ourselves, then only, yes, that is the gateway for the world to experience that. Because, yeah, like I said, we cannot give what we do not have for ourselves.
Yes. And I think if you look at universal energy and in terms of, like you were saying earlier, not being able to, we're practicing online and we're in our own home space and that kind of thing. And I think when we look at the class environment, you've got that energy for yourself and the universal love and compassion. And when you have that, it almost overflows to and to others around you. And that is where the universal energy comes in. And I don't know if you would agree with me on this, but having that, it's almost like, going one step, but from the self-love, compassion overflowing into a universal energy is how collectively we could possibly all make change. And also in a way why there is so many being drawn to the practice, because those benefits are being felt by one and all, and realizing that when we come together, I have a philosophy of the power of the collective. Collectively we can make change. Individually we can still, each person makes one change, but collectively, when that energy comes together universally, I think the changes together could make so much more. What are your thoughts there?
No, absolutely. I do believe in the collective, but I do at the same time, believe that at the center of a whole and healthy society is a whole and healthy person,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and that there's a lot in taking responsibility. And that's what yoga has been for me. It's like, take responsibility for your thoughts, your actions, your way of being. And again, in that, if each person is able to do that, we are able to come together collectively as a society, because I know that you are, you've taken full responsibility for yourself. You've got self-awareness, you're living love, kindness, compassion through yourself. And therefore we are able to meet on that place, of course, and then the waves ripple out. But I'm wary of us kind of, how do I put it? Yeah, just that thing of just making sure that people take responsibility for themselves.
Exactly. If you're acting in your what's your highest good, within your truth and within yourself, that is where the first change starts. So I hear you. Yes, no, definitely. And then perhaps you can suggest some simple asanas for us, and for the viewers out there. Your suggestions would be most.
Absolutely. So, I need to, sorry, I'm just set up for myself to shift my computer, give myself a bit more space into my living room. Sorry about this. So, a personal favorite of mine is a good old side stretch. And so coming onto your knees, if you can, if this is comfortable for you to sit like this. If it's not, you can also always just come to sit cross-legged, nice and flat. Again, if this is also not available, and this is what yoga is fantastic, there are always different ways you can sit with your legs out straight. But you want to just make sure that you're sitting up as tall as you can. The way I find that is fingertips reaching down, just sitting gently underneath my shoulders. And then I'm going to start with my right hand down, just lifting my left arm up, finding some length. and then reaching up and over, and then just looking underneath that armpit. And the most important part is the breath, breathing in through the nose and breathing out through the nose or the mouth, staying here for about 2 or 3 breaths, coming all the way up. And then what you do on the right, we do on the left, and just taking it over and doing another nice side stretch here, coming into the intercostal muscles, creating space through the cavity. And then we can come up, and that leads me into another one, forward fold, reaching fingertips as far forward as you can, tucking your chin in towards your chest, letting your head hang heavy. I like to think of this as stepping out of my thinking mind and just coming into my body. So just coming into a forward fold, and that's always a good one. And then, of course, we have my favorite standing is the tree. And we spoke about the interconnectedness of ourselves as well as nature. And so this is also a great one. And that would be just planting your feet onto the floor, bringing your foot to your ankle or your calf. Hands can be at your heart center, or palms can reach up, and just balance. So those are some of my go-to practices. Just get into my body. It's getting a little bit loud. Deep stretching, deep breathing, a little bit of balancing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I definitely like those two. I think stretching and breath, is so important. And yeah, nothing nicer than doing a tree pose to get connected to the ground and get some good grounding. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you today and sharing with everybody some great tips and advice and theories and yeah, having this conversation. I think it's been really great. Thank you so much.
My internet. Oh, sorry, I lost everybody there, but I got the thank you. So my pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
The most important part.
Yes.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Miss Paula Martini and Miss Nosizwe MG, for that deep insight on your Yogcharcha today. We definitely did learn quite a lot indeed. Thank you so much, Miss Nosizwe MG, for that expert advice and those asanas. I would like to invite Mr. Sipiwe Mchunu from the Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban to render this afternoon's vote of thanks on the first episode of Yoga Charcha with Ms. Paula Martini and Ms. Sizwe MG.
Namaskar. Greetings to all of you. On behalf of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center at the Consulate General of India in Durban, it gives me a great pleasure today to deliver a vote of thanks on our first episode of Yoga Charcha, meaning discussions on yoga. Allow me to thank the following online guests: Mr. Kamal Maharaj, an educator and a CEO of Vishwa Shakti, for the introductory remarks. Secondly, I'd like to thank Ms. Nosizwe MG, yoga teacher, and Ms. Paula Martini, a yoga practitioner, for a great interaction on yoga. And also I'd like to thank Ms. Nosizwe MG for demonstration of yoga asanas. Man, it was so wonderful. So I hope I learned one or two from you. Thank you very much. To both of you, to all of you, Kamal Maraji, Nosizwe Ji, and Paula Ji, Dhanyavad for taking part on today's program. To Director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center, Dr. Chaitanya Yogi, Sri Harinarayan, Sri Piyush Khandelwal, thank you very much for taking part on today's program. To all our online viewers who took part on today's program, we'd like to say thank you very much. And also we advise you to visit our Facebook page so that you will be updated about all cultural activities organized by Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in Devon. To all of you, such a wonderful people, have a wonderful evening. Namaskar.